Today I want to talk about the Baume Mercier Clifton MOA 10057. This is the complete calendar with moon phase with the blue dial. Launched at SIHH just a few weeks ago, 2013. Quite an interesting piece, and the Clifton collection draws on its inspiration from 1950s. It was actually a Baume Mercier model created in the 1950s, which has provided inspiration for a whole range of models from forming the Clifton collection this year. This particular one features a self-winding movement. There are certain themes that or certain traits that are common to all Clifton models, and one of them is this stepped case. It's actually in two stages, and it's very, very deceptive because this actually has a case diameter of 43mm, but it looks actually a little bit smaller than that when it's on the wrist. I've been wearing this for again a couple of weeks, and I just find it very, very attractive. The blue hue actually goes really well with blue shirts and jeans, etc. It's quite an adaptable colour for wearing. If we actually look at the dial in close detail, you've got the Baume Mercier nomenclature at just below noon. You've then got a blend of Arabic numerals and simple patterns. So the Arabic numerals are presented on the even hours. They're actually in a very modern font. There's no serifs on them, for example. And then on the odd hours, we've got sort of tear-shaped battens. You've got the day and also the month shown again just beneath the brand's name. We've got a moon phase just near 6 o'clock, and then apart from hours and minutes, we also have this third hand, which is actually the date indicator, and it basically works all the way around the dial. And there's just a little flourish of red picked up at noon, and also on the tip of the date indicator. It's just very little, a subtle touch of red, but very attractive indeed. The case blends both polished surfaces and satin brush surfaces. So if you actually look on this upper leading edge, this sort of beveled edge on the case band, it's highly polished, and yet we've got satin brushing on the side of the case band and also on the bezel surrounding the dial. This particular model comes on a deployant, and I always go mad for deployants. I still think they're far better than pin buckles, if I'm honest. They sit more comfortably, they last better, and this particular one is a very good item indeed. It's very well made. It's got these two pushes at the centre here. It feels very secure on the wrist. If you actually look at the reverse of the watch, we've got a Dubois-Dupré movement. It's a self-winding movement, and you can see the Côte de Genève appearing there on the rotor. We can see Côte de Genève also on the bridges, and there's perlage presented on some of the surfaces as well. What I particularly like about this is Baume Mercier are very, very open about telling you whose movement they're using, and they don't pretend that they're a manufacturer. They're actually being quite open and saying we use the Duperret, we use Jaeger-LeCoultre, we use, in this case, Dubois-Dupré. It's a 4 Hz movement. The case is also about 12mm thick, I would suggest. That's an approximate estimate, but it doesn't feel unduly large on the wrist. It actually nuzzles the wrist very well, and that's partly down to the design of the lugs. The lugs taper down very, very sharply, and it does afford a very comfortable fit with the wrist. I think part of that as well, that's interesting with that, is that it would actually suit wearers with potentially smaller wrists. And the design language, even though it's 43mm, would not look unduly large on a smaller wearer. The other thing about Baume Mercier is that they go back to using sort of former models for inspiration and looking at bygone times, and certainly in the 1940s, 1950s, there were some wonderful designs. It's a Swiss watch. It's from a historical brand dating back to 1860. And the other thing is price point. I don't ordinarily talk about price, but this particular model, when we saw this at SIHH, was announced at 2,500 Swiss francs plus VAT. Just to put that in context, I mean, in sterling, that's less than £2,000 at this moment in time, plus VAT. It is a lot of watch for the money. and I think it represents actually very, very good value. This, I think, would be a wonderful piece for somebody who perhaps can't afford the Poissons Genève movement on a very, very high-end piece. They're getting a nice watch, well made, with a good movement, and I think, you know, I'd certainly be very comfortable wearing this. It's very good indeed.